What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Flyin Style podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co-host, Steven Maslij.
What's up, Matthew?
What is up, Steven? We are blessed to come back to you guys for another podcast this week in the divisional round after the Eagles took down the Green Bay Packers this week. It was a fun game. It was a rough game. It was, we won by double digits, but didn't feel that way. And the Eagles pull one out 22-10. It was an interesting game. Maz, let's hear your initial thoughts. What do you think?
Initial thoughts was the defense was fantastic, and you can't take away from that. 4 turnovers to none. I mean, obviously the opening kickoff. Just could it be helmet to helmet? Maybe. Did they recover it? I think they did. I was at the game, so I couldn't actually tell if they recovered it or not. Some people said it did. Some people said it clearly didn't. What was your view from home? I don't know.
Well, obviously we recovered it. No, truthfully, I mean, it looked to me like they had pretty clear possession, at least at a certain point. I don't know at what point they deemed the person down and whatnot and where the fight ends, but I was truthfully a little confused how we ended up with that ball because I felt like there was at least one camera angle where their running back, Wilson, had full control of the ball after the scrum happened. So, it was a little to say the least, but I mean, that is the way the game goes sometimes. I feel like there have been times where that's gone against the Eagles. We were blessed that it kind of went our way this time. I don't really agree with the helmet to helmet. I know a lot of people said that. I know that technically it could be called helmet to helmet, but it was more face mask to face mask. It was more face to face. And there wasn't really a way around it. It didn't. Watching that hit in live time didn't feel like it was a helmet-to-helmet kind of contact, and neither of the players reacted as if it were either. So, I mean, obviously, when the ball's fumbled, there's other concerns out there, but it just didn't feel that way. It was a hell of a hit, and it was a hell of a way to start the game. And it's very difficult for a team to turn around after letting up a play like that, letting a score within the first 30 seconds. So that was huge. That was a huge start to that game.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
From there, we're up 10-0 at halftime. It just got a little close when it was 10-16, but nonetheless, the Eagles were able to pull it off, and it ended with a good Saquon slide to finish off the game, which some people were upset about. I was happy about because the game's over, and we got a W and move on to the next round.
I think the only people that were upset about that play were people that bet on him to score a touchdown. So there was obviously absolutely nothing wrong with what he did there, and it was the smart play and the right play in doing so. So I can't say I agree with any of the people that didn't think that was the right call, but alas.
Yeah, it was a great game. I kind of was upset a little bit after the game, just a little nervous about a shaky offense, but it was to be expected with Hurts coming back. And honestly, what did he do that wrong of not turning the ball over at all, just keeping it under control, picked up yards when he needed to get yards. He wasn't, I wouldn't say phenomenal. I'm not going to come in here and say Hurts played the best game of his life, but he didn't play god-awful like everyone else says. I understand the whole he didn't play super well, but if you want to say he played bad, then you have to go into turnovers and stuff, and he didn't turn the ball over, and he didn't give them a chance to get the ball back. So that's what I will say on that. Saquon was very dominant again. He's just a god. A.J. Brown, maybe he's not a number one receiver in the league. It's fine. Jahan Dotson are number one. It's okay. I'm just kidding. Clearly. I'm just going to read a book and bitch about it. But regardless, it was a great game. I was very happy. Some of the fans around us were booing and not very happy. I was kind of upset about that because we're winning a playoff game, and we are spoiled. Some people are spoiled little brats going into not winning a playoff game. But I'm happy we won. We're here. We're playing the Rams, and it's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way. It was obviously, it wasn't the best performance out of the Eagles offense, but like you said, I feel like it was more than expected with Jalen Hurts coming off 4 weeks of not playing, not practicing with A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. And even when he does get back with 2 days of practice before the game, both those guys were also out and resting with injuries of their own. So it definitely was not their normal rhythm that they were in, and I feel like that was to be expected. And the defense played absolutely lights out, just shutting them down in the run game and the passing game. Obviously, they had that one run by Josh Jacobs that was just a heck of an effort by Josh Jacobs himself, and you can't discredit the O-line and what they did, but that was a heck of an effort by Josh Jacobs. That was one of the better runs I've seen all year. So that was, that kind of play is going to happen. But I feel like they played phenomenal. They shut Jordan Love down, finally letting everybody realize my take of Jordan Love being overrated is officially true and worth the conversation. I've stood on it all year, and I was never going to turn around on it. That the Packers and Jordan Love together were just overrated by the media. And I don't mean that as a knock on them. It just felt like they put them in this spotlight, in this I put them on a pedestal and tried to say that they were like Super Bowl contenders. And Jordan Love was an MVP candidate. And that was just never the truth. And it was never going to be the truth. And I wanted to make that clear every time we came into contact with them. So, and I feel like it became evident playing against a good defense like the Eagles. So I was really proud of the way the Eagles played on defense, and they just completely out-physicaled them all game and beat them up and did their thing. And like you said on the offensive side of the ball, Jalen Hurts, obviously not a stellar performance, going 13 for 21 with 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I think what people tend to misunderstand when you're in the playoffs is that there are 4 games to be played. And unlike the regular season, obviously it's great to, make big plays, get your stats up, do the flashy stuff, make yourself and the team look good, whatnot, and you can make a few mistakes here and there. Once you get to the playoffs, it's not about the big plays you make. It's about the plays that you don't make mistakes on. And like you said, to Jalen Hurts' credit, he's been doing a great job of not making mistakes. I don't think he played great. I talked to you during and after the game that I felt like Jalen Hurts, in his rustiness, was throwing the ball pretty low. Like he had a low release on his throw and was throwing the ball like midsection and to knees for everybody. And I think that was throwing people off, and it was throwing Jalen off. And yes, as much as I do wish that he would get the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker, there's been a lot of national media pointing out this week, and I didn't really notice it that much during the game. I wasn't looking out for it, but there was a lot of plays where a lot of those receivers were pretty highly covered. And whether you could make the argument or not that he could have thrown them open, or he could have, they could have they could have gotten the ball anyway. Like if you had just given them a chance, like we just said, it's more important not to make a mistake than to make that big play and look like a hero. I think we'd all be a lot more pissed off at Jalen if he came out of that game with two picks and 250 yards, So I'm not mad at the way he played, but I think that there is some validation in everybody's problems with the way that they played this week, and the offense absolutely does need to step it up against this going into this game. And this is a game against a team that we had a lot of offensive success against last time. So I don't see any reason that we can't make that happen again. But before we jump into the Rams game, are there any more thoughts that you had on the Green Bay Packers game?
I just wanted to give Nolan Smith his flowers. Dude played a great game. He was electric during the game. I didn't expect him to get 2 sacks. He's been coming on very, very strong. I didn't realize those are only 2 sacks of the game. I was looking at, someone broke it down that we only blitzed one time. We basically played zone like the majority of the game.
Do you know why that is? I think
because the Packers don't have any receivers and they stink.
Well, that could be a reason too, but I was actually going to say because we lost our blitz guy in Nakobe Dean.
This is also true.
In almost every blitz package that we throw a linebacker into a blitz out of, it's almost always Nakobe Dean.
Which is upsetting to see my baby go on the cart during the game. It was very upsetting. I went big, no, Nakobe!
Any of our longtime listeners know that Steve has been a devoted Nakobe Dean fan since day one. And I'd love to say I'm right there with him, but he has a different love for Nakobe Dean, and this one hurt him a little bit.
Yeah, that was brutal, and I hope they don't take the Kelly Green Nakobe Deans off the correct because I'm still getting one regardless if he plays another snap in his freaking career. But
in his career, he'll play again. He'll be fine. But whether he plays for the Eagles is the question, because now, unfortunately, you get into a spot where it just puts everyone, including Nakobe, in a difficult position where he's in a contract year. He's not going to be ready to play next season. And where do you find that middle ground of pay for what you're going to get playing time with and paying for what Nakobe has earned off of this season? Because Nakobe's had a great season, and I feel like he earned himself a good contract. And I really hope that we give it to him because I see no reason not to bring him back. He's, I think this is the kind of player that I think Howie would bring back no matter what because, he's got that core of Georgia guys. I don't think there's any reason for him to break it up. Nakobe's not somebody that's going to go out and get some massive contract from somebody else. Even if you were to get a good contract from somebody else, it's not going to be breaking the bank kind of money. And I think Howie would be able to match whatever anybody else throws at him because I think that he cares about keeping this core group of guys together and making sure that they, have a chemistry going forward. So I hope that, I wish the best in Nakobe Dean and healing moving forward. And I hope that Howie and him can find a way to find a deal that works for both sides and bring him back in the future when he's ready to play again. I think he'll probably be back. Probably, like with the way modern medicine is, I think he'll probably be back by mid-season next year. But it's a little tough to say right now. So hopefully we see him sooner than later, but who knows as it is right now.
Yeah. Regardless, we'll get into all that stuff in the offseason. But this week, we took on the Los Angeles Rams. And this team, it's going to be Sunday at 3 o'clock. Weather permitting, we'll see if there's going to be snow or whatnot is going to happen during this game. The Rams are coming off a win, 27-9 against the Vikings. We spoke on a little bit before the podcast about Sam Darnold getting sacked 9 times in this game. Was that Sam's fault? Was that O-line's fault? Who knows? However, I think this Rams defense is a little bit different than we played them against. They were playing with lots of backups. They've been coming on a little bit strong. How nervous are you about this Rams team, and what do you expect from the Rams in this game, honestly?
Well, I'm going to be blatantly honest with you that I honestly am less worried about this game than the Packers game. And I truthfully, I am. And I could get some crazy looks for that because I know that Sean McVay is a good coach and Matt Stafford's a good quarterback. And they played really well against 14-3 team. But I just don't think that they're that talented. I feel like they're the kind of team that plays well once in a blue moon and kind of falls off. And I know you can look at the fact that they finished the season with 6 wins and whatnot, and they weren't letting up big points against anybody. They played a bunch of bad teams, a bunch of teams that didn't make the playoffs, a bunch of teams that were nowhere near making the playoffs. So I really don't see them as super dangerous. I know their D-line put up 9 sacks last week. That was not Sam Darnold's fault. It was the O-line's fault. Sam Darnold doesn't do well under pressure, sure, and he also made mistakes behind the mistakes that the O-line were making. But the O-line, it starts with the O-line. And our offensive line is not allowing 9 sacks. I don't care if Jalen holds the ball for 5 seconds every play. They still wouldn't let up 9 sacks in a game. I don't ever see it, and I don't think you can convince me in any way that they would get that many sacks against us. And they are the engine to their team running, their D-line. You know what I mean? So if you can contain their D-line, prevent them from getting pressure on Jalen Hurts, really move the ball like you did in the run game last time we played them when we won 37-20, which was really more like 37-14 until that late garbage time touchdown. Just out physical them, and they got no shot. Not to mention, this is a team coming off of a late Monday game in Arizona where they got to fly back to LA for 2 days. Then they got to fly to Philly. Then they're going to play in the snow in one of the coldest days in Philadelphia this year. Not in the dome. There's just too many factors going against them for me to think that they're going to be super dangerous. And maybe I am overconfident. I don't know. I mean, really, I heard somebody say earlier today that if you think you're overconfident, you are overconfident. And I think that's probably fair. But I'm not going to say these Rams are just a bad team. I just don't see them on the same tier as us. I really don't. So before I jump into anything else, what do you think about this?
I'm just a little nervous. I think we are more talented. I think we're more talented, but I can say that about every team pretty much if we're just going on paper. I think that the biggest thing for us is being able to take advantage of the opportunities in our game. It's like any playoff game, but this team on Monday was actually hitting people hard. And this team has a drive, a literal fire lit underneath them and that was a kind of a pun intended, not meaning to be a funny pun, but the LA, like the whole playing for LA on their backs, like trying to
hit the ball on that one, Steve. That was a good one.
It wasn't really, it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it's supposed to be like they have extra motivation going into this game, playing for the city on their back and repping everything.
Yeah, all jokes aside, it is really a shame what's going on over there. It's really nuts, and it does absolutely give them, something to play for, something to give to their fans, to the city of LA, and to the state of California. Just they want to do this for them at this point, I'm sure.
And then, but even to that but it's so much going against them. It kind of feels like they gave everything in that Monday game. Like that's all they had. Like you could be as well coached as you want. You could be as well, but we are more talented. On their defense is subpar. It's a mid-tier defense maybe at this point. They were bottom of the league. They kind of stepped it up a little bit, but there is no reason we should lose this game on either side of the ball. If you can contain Puka, honestly contain Puka, because Kupp has been non-existent. Puka and Kyren are your two keys. And make Stafford uncomfortable in the pocket because Stafford isn't running. Like he's not moving in the pocket. So we need to get pressure on Stafford and be able to just contain anything. Like Stafford will take the dink and dunks. So we have to be able to tackle. That's what I'm a little worried about Oren Burks if he's still starting, which I believe he is. Just making tackles in open field. And if we can do that, if we can keep it in front of us, make tackles, it should be – I'm not going to use the word easy. It should be a game that goes in our favor.
I agree, and I think that obviously our offense is going to have to come and produce in a better way than they did last week, and I'm personally pretty confident they can. You'll be able to tell off my score prediction when I give that, but I feel like the Rams are in a really difficult position based on the way that last game went. They obviously deeply struggled against the run with Saquon Barkley, running for 255 yards, and that doesn't even account for the team rushing yards in that game, which I think was over 300. And they're going to be obviously aware and conscious of that, and I think more than anything, they're going to try to stop that first. So for the most part, they're going to be adding somebody to the box to make sure that they can stop that run, meaning that they're going to try to make Jalen beat them over the top and beat them with his arm. And weather barring, I don't know what kind of effects the weather are going to have on both sides. It could be more than I'm expecting. But I see this as the kind of opportunity that you had going into the Steelers game when everybody was begging for the passing game to be better. And I feel like you're in a similar situation where everybody's pissed off this week that the passing game wasn't where it was supposed to be. And AJ didn't get any catches. And he's sitting on the bench reading a book. And even though he didn't seem angry in any way, everybody's thinking everybody's disgruntled again. And this is the perfect opportunity where they're going to throw somebody else extra in the box. They're going to leave one-on-one coverage on the outsides on our guys. And this is the perfect opportunity for us to air it out over the top. And I can't confidently say that they're just going to go ahead and do that based on what I watched last week. But I am going to say that I'm confident that they're capable of doing so, and that I deeply hope that that's the approach that they take, and they really just air it out over the top and put that ball in the air as much as possible and really let our guys work in that one-on-one coverage and just play through that. And then obviously, that's when you use the back and forth of using that over-the-top ball and then pairing it with a 1-2 punch with Saquon Barkley and, just keeping them on their toes and keeping them unaware of where you're going to hit them from. I just feel like our offense has too many options for the way that they can hit you, whether it's in the run game, whether it's the power run game, whether it's the, running the option, whether it's quick passes and just dinks and dunks, whether it's hitting you over the top. I just feel like they have so many opportunities in whichever way they can beat you. And with all these factors against the Rams, with how talented our team is, I'm very confident in what we can do. And that's not – I think that they're still going to put up some points on us. But I do think that we're going to pull away with it in a way that they're just not going to be able to keep up. And once again, I think we're going to out-physical them.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of teams in the NFL in general, the Rams are going to this very scorching hot. Their last real loss – I mean, Seattle, they lost, but they're starting Jimmy G. Their last real loss is us, like during a regular season, which is kind of insane to think. I mean, but like you said, they beat at the Saints, they beat the Bills. That was a really good win.
The Bills was a great win, and I don't mean to diminish that one from them because that was a good one. But outside of that, there wasn't much.
No defense in that game being played.
Yeah,
like I feel like our defense is able to stack up to them. Like. I think this defense.
What if all the best offenses in the league done against us this year? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean,
we played the Packers last week. They put up 10 points. We played the Bengals this year, and they put up 17 points on us. We played the Commanders. They put up 18 points. The Rams put up 20 with a garbage time touchdown. The Ravens put up 19. Steelers put up 13. These are teams that made the playoffs. We have the ability and the luxury of a defense that is simply the best in the league right now. And not to mention, at this back half of the season, they've been taking the ball away at will from everyone they've been playing. And, riding on that kind of fire, it's just watching these games, it's not so much that we're so tantalizing on offense or anything like that, or so, just dominant, but the defense just doesn't ever let the other team in the game, ever. Like, it's hard to see us losing with the way our defense has been playing. And I know that, we see those freak times where the Commanders score 22 points on us in the fourth quarter of a game. And that kind of thing can happen because momentum's a funny thing. Once somebody gets momentum, it can shift really quickly. But I think that a lot of things lined up for that to happen, and I don't really think
Kenny Pickett playing quarterback is one of them.
Exactly, and losing, I do think that losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson was huge in that game, and there's a lot of factors in that game that made that go the way it did, and I don't see that being the case here. So again, I'm pretty confident. So let's hear what your thoughts are on the score here.
I'm going to go relatively low scoring for the Rams. I mean,
I'm going to say something crazy for the fact that there's going to be weather on Sunday, but it's already in my head and it's already coming out of my mouth. So go ahead first.
I'm going 31-17. I had the same score last week. I think they're a very similar team. It's going to be is that the score we beat them by? No, it's 37.
No,
I'm going 31.
37-20 was the last game.
I'm going to go 31-17. I think we get a garbage time touchdown this time to seal the game in a long drive. This Rams team does not, as intimidating as people make them out to be, they only have so much they can do. This really, I heard someone say it today, it kind of reminds me of the Case Keenum Vikings when they got the Minnesota Miracle. Yeah, they have Diggs. They have like players like that are able to contribute. Like, I'm not diminishing Puka. I'm not diminishing Kyron's here. Cup has experience, but hasn't been any bit of himself. I don't know what's going on there.
I have to diminish Puka for just one moment because I saw a poll asking who was better between him and A.J. Brown, and Puka won, and it made me pretty upset. So I just want to make it clear that he is nowhere near A.J. Brown. But continue your point.
He's closer.
You think he's close?
He's closer than people give him credit for.
He's been in the league. Listen, like, I will give him his credit in a couple of years. I don't think that it should be a question yet. He's been in the league for, 2 years now?
Yeah.
Right? Yes, I know that he's had 2 good years. I need to see more of it before I declare him being as good as A.J. Brown, who's been an All-Pro 3 years in a row. I can't give him that luxury yet.
Yeah. And that's fair. I'm not trying to say he's better than him. I'm saying he's.
I know how good he is.
In the same class.
That was my Eagles bias. I thought you were going to back me up a little more than that, but that's okay.
No, I mean, Puka just been great when he plays. Like, it's been kind of ridiculous.
I get it. Puka is really
he played
good.
11 games here at 190 yards, dude. Like, he had 100 less yards in 2 less games than AJ. I'm not saying – I don't even like vouching for Puka, but, like –
he probably had just as many, if not more, receptions, though.
Yeah, 79 to whatever. AJ had like 60 something. But, yeah. I mean, that's also fair. He's a volume guy, and that's just what Puka is. But, like, he had 9 for 117 versus us last time we played him. I don't even know. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I don't think Puka's better than AJ Brown. But
I'm glad to hear you finally say that out of your mouth. That during this conversation, that has never come out of your mouth yet. So I'm glad to hear you actually say.
No, well, I didn't. That's not where I was going. I think he could be considered an arguable top 7 receiver in the league.
I think that's fair.
But AJ's top 3. But anyway, all right. I don't. That's stupid conversation. I wasn't even trying to make an argument out of anything.
No, it's okay. And I made it into an argument, and then I was upset that you didn't join me. But it's okay. So before we continue, let's not continue that one because it is actually closer than I want to give it credit for. I just wanted to be funny, and it wasn't that funny. So my score prediction for this game, just jumping right into it, I said it was going to be a blowout, and I'm going to stand on that. And I'm probably putting way too high of a score for the weather, but I'm going to say 41-24 is what I think is going to be. I just expect fireworks out of the Eagles offense after what we saw last week. And I think their offense is going to score some too, but I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with us.
I think I like that. I love that score prediction. That would be a great game. I love it. I mean, I really don't see this team seriously, this team, I can't see this team beating us. Like, I really don't. And
I don't either. I just don't really see a situation without us, like I said last week, without us messing ourselves up and getting in our own way, which is possible. I just don't see that being the case. And I don't think that what we saw out of Jalen last week was us getting in our own way. You know, we still handled the game through and through at all points. I think if there was a situation where we needed something more desperately, maybe we would have done more to get that. But we dominated that game so much last week that I don't think there was ever really that much concern. Now, I know there was a 16-10 at some point. I get it. But I don't think there, like, at least in me, I don't know how everybody felt on the sidelines or in the stadium, but it just never felt in doubt.
I didn't feel like it was in doubt.
And there's very few times this year where I have felt in doubt. And, you know, I have confidence in what this team can do. And again, no doubt that I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I completely agree, dude. I just want to make one point that I might actually regret saying, that everyone's trying to give Matt Stafford this God level tier I've heard people. I don't know if people say he's a top 5 quarterback to you. I don't know if you believe that. I
never hear him put in the top 5 conversation, but every time it's time to play Matt Stafford, everybody talks about him being like,
Thank you,
Pat Mahomes. Yeah,
isn't it crazy? It's really weird
ridiculous.
because
I know that he can pick you apart and whatnot, but like he's not that. He's not like
that was the perfect way of saying it. Whenever they rank quarterbacks, he's not top 5. But whenever it's time to play him, Matt Stafford goes, "Oh yeah, he's a god." Do you remember? You know that? It's like, what?
Okay. Yeah, you don't want to mess with Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. You know, they know what they're doing, and it's like I get that, but like Matt Stafford is what, like 34, and not the same Matt Stafford that he used to be, and Sean McVay is just a coach. He's not out there playing the game. There's only so much you can do.
It's actually kind of crazy. Okay, I guess we disagree. I'm just gonna move on from that.
No, we
But
agree. We agree.
yeah, that's what I mean. I was hoping a little. I guess I was doing the same thing with AJ and Puka. It's yeah. That's all I got to say about that. All right, moving on. We're gonna. I guess we hope we're going to beat the Rams. So, do you want to go into other playoff games and see?
Yeah, we'll jump into our before we jump out of here. We'll talk about our score predictions for the divisional games this week. And with that being said, if you guys tuned in last week, we gave our wild card scores and not scores, sorry, our spread predictions, and both of us went 3-3. So this looks like it's going to be a tight race down the line to see, somebody's going to end up breaking a tiebreaker here. So going into this week, there are 4 games. Maslij and I are going to pick on all 4, and we'll see if anybody takes a little bit of a lead here. So going into the first one, we've got the Chiefs and Texans with Kansas City -8 in this game.
Kansas City coming off, Texas coming off an impressive win against the Chargers, but they had a lot of turnovers in that game. And I mean, the Chiefs haven't been able to lay a number. If you watch the Chiefs, they have been in close games all this year. I think the Chiefs might be frauds. I'm not going to call them frauds, but I don't think the Texans are good enough to come close. I think KC is going to blow them out, so I'm going to go KC -8.
Okay, I'm gonna go Texans to cover the spread. I do think the Chiefs are going to win because that's just kind of what they do. They don't lose games, but they are, like you said, in a lot of close games. And I don't have the exact number, but I know that they're awful against the spread this year, like as a whole. So coming off of, I think, 2.5 weeks without playing a game for any of their starters.
Essentially they didn't play the Broncos game. So
so I think it's a big layoff. I think a little bit too much of a layoff. And I think that they're going to come in looking a little bit rusty. And I think this is going to be a low-scoring, close game. But I do think the Chiefs are going to do their thing and pull it out per usual. So I'm going to go with the Texans +8, but the Chiefs to win the game.
All righty.
For the second game, and probably maybe the best game all year, the Bills versus the Ravens.
I thought you were going to the – I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say Saturday night. I got thrown off. I was like, best game all year. What are you talking about? Commanders Lions is not the best game all year. Sorry. That's why I made the face.
I'm looking at the AFC side of a bracket right now.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. I just want people to know the face I made. I was like, what is he really? That's maybe. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Bills Ravens is a really, really tough one. This is a game where it's 2 teams that have been in the upper echelon of the league for years and have been trying to prove that they are worth Super Bowl contention every year, but have never quite made it. Both Lamar and Josh Allen are MVP caliber players who have not been able to take their team over the top yet, and they've been heavily criticized for that. So this is a really big legacy game for both sides, and one team is going to prove something heavily, and one team is going to be disappointed and going home. And it's honestly a shame to see either of these teams go. This is going to be a really cool matchup, and I truthfully I don't even know where to go with it, but
I mean, it's like a divisional matchup because the Ravens played at home. They basically kind of smoked them. It was 35-10 the final score. It's at Buffalo. It should be a great game. Like you said, everything built into it. Do you want me to get my prediction? I don't really have a valid one, but
yeah, I'll go after you. Go ahead.
We don't know if Zay Flowers even playing, but regardless of that, I don't even want to say it, but I think just based off I think their defense is better. They're on the road. It's going to be hard. Bills are undefeated at home, which is crazy. I kind of want to see the Bills Chiefs play in the AFC, but I have to go with the Ravens. I just think their defense is better. I don't think the Bills defense is that great, but they're well coached. I'll go with the Ravens. I don't really like it. It could go either way.
Yeah, this is a tough one, dude. I my heart wants to say the Ravens too, But the Bills, like you said, are undefeated at home. Josh Allen has had like a storybook kind of year so far, and it's an interesting case. And you know that they're playing with the desire to play to get revenge on the Chiefs. Unfortunately for the Texans, everybody's going to overlook them and think that there's no shot that they're beating the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are going to be in the AFC Championship. And I hope that that's a narrative that they can really flip upside down. But I do think that the Bills, just for the sake of it, for the sake of being different from you, I'm going to go with the Bills +1. But it's tough. It's really, really tough. I just as easily see the Ravens winning. This is a legitimate 50-50 matchup. I just don't know which way to call it. And yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. You might be right with the defense. I do think the Ravens are a more talented team and probably a better team as a whole. I do think that the conditions could maybe get under the skin of the Baltimore Ravens, but it's just a toss-up, and I'm going to go with the Bills.
Should be a good one. I hope it lives up to the hype.
Absolutely. I hope so, too. Moving on to the next game, we're jumping to the other side of the bracket, and like Maslij said earlier, we've got the Lions and the Commanders. With the Lions -9.5, I think this one's a little more interesting than people are probably giving it credit for, but the Lions are a really good team. It's hard seeing them lose, but they do have a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and the Commanders are playing with a lot of momentum, especially after getting their first playoff win in almost 20 years. So they're playing with some fire right now, and they've got their fans behind them in a way that I don't think any other team in the playoffs probably does because of their lack of success in the past. You know what I mean? So they're playing with something to prove, especially because they're probably being counted out by everybody going into this. So I want to hear your thoughts.
This Lions team has just been a juggernaut all year. I said it last week, and I guess I'll have to stick to it. With Jaden Daniels' experience, and then he goes down and leads them to a game-winning field goal. So it's kind of funny. Trying to talk crap about a rookie, but Bo Nix lived up to my expectations for a rookie. Jaden Daniels is different. This Commanders team is very interesting. I don't think they're gonna have enough firepower in this game to keep up the Lions' offense. I just don't think their defense is good enough to keep up with the Lions. You get David Montgomery back for the Lions, which is ginormous, even though Gibbs has been a juggernaut. I think this Lions team is so ready to try to play an NFC chip. Could they overlook the Commanders? I don't think so. I think Dan Campbell's a good coach. It's sad to say. I think it will be a double-digit point game. I'm going to go with the Lions -9.5. I don't think it'll be the type of game where you turn it off because it's 42-0. But I do think the Lions just pull away, and you're like, will the Commanders come back? They have good drives, but they're just not able to keep up the Lions at this point.
That's fair. I'm going to take the opposite route as you, which means that you're taking all the favorites and I'm taking all the underdogs. And I don't think that if it were money line, I'd be going with the Lions. I think the Lions are going to win this game. I just think that 9.5 is going to be a big spread. I think that the Commanders have done a really good job of, no matter the situation, keeping the game close. And I think that they're going to do a good job of doing that. If you look at, I think, their last 5 games, I don't know if it's 5. Might be somewhere between 5 and 3 of their last games. I think it's 5. Either way, out of a bunch of their last games, they have won the game on the last second of the game.
Yeah.
They've been winning on a bunch of last second situations, and they just have a way of being in the right place at the right time. And it feels kind of like that specialness to be their kind of year in that regard. I don't think they're that talented, and I don't think they're ready to be in that position yet. But I do think they're, like I said, playing with a lot of fire, a lot of momentum, and I think they'll manage to keep the game close. I could even see them winning it, but I'm not going to be foolish enough to outright bet on them to do so. So I'm going to stick with the Lions money line here, but I'm going to give them the chance to beat the spread here.
All righty. Well, head-to-head, one of us will come out on top this week. Thank goodness.
That we will.
Someone has to. It's impossible not to. So it should be an interesting weekend. I'm hoping for some good games. I hope our game's not good. I hope we just smoke them. But other than that, I hope we're able to watch some entertaining football and watch other guys sweat.
We got 3 other games to enjoy. The Eagles game, it can just be a watch, and we don't even have to worry about it. But alas, it's going to be an exciting weekend. It could be happy, it could be heartbreaking. We don't know yet, but we will be here to talk about it next week regardless. Hopefully it will be a happy conversation, so please make sure to tune in next week. If you did tune in today, thank you. We appreciate you guys so much. If you enjoyed the video, please like it. And if you want to make sure you're here for next week's reaction, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We will be back talking about it, giving a review of the game, and hopefully a preview of the conference championship. So
hopefully,
we will be back, hopefully in good spirits. And until then, we will see you guys later, and we will be watching some good football this weekend. Go Birds!
Go Birds!